All right, Jeepers, let's dive into the first segment. Today we're going to be installing this product. It's the Oracle Cargo Light system. And some of you have seen this, and there are certainly several install videos around. But some of the videos I've seen aren't great. They don't give you a clean install. They don't show you how maybe you can run the wiring in a different way. We're going to go over all of those things today in a quick, easy to install video. All right, let's get started with a couple of tools that you're going to need, and then maybe a few pro tips that I've learned after installing this once or twice on other Jeeps that help me make this the cleanest install possible. All right, and here are a couple of tools that you're going to need. Wire cutter, crimper. It's always helpful to have a razor blade on hand, a screwdriver, pry bar, some Allen wrenches, electrical tape, and factory fabric tape. All right, so this is the back of our 2024 final edition Jeep 392. This is the piece that we're going to be replacing this morning. So we're going to take this off here in just a second. We will run our wire in this channel, and then I'll show you how I run the additional cabling through this and then down into the channel here. I'll run it back out outside of here, and we'll connect it right here. So we'll splice into the power here without making any cuts, make it nice and clean. But just want to be able to show you guys how to do that, how we do it, and look forward to sharing some of our pro tips. All right, to help us get started, we're going to be in the back. We're going to be working back here quite a bit. I'm going to pop off a couple of the panels here, so just a few of the covers. And I just use a trim pry tool. Love these. You can find these on Amazon. Really easy. I'm going to go ahead and separate the seatbelt piece here. Don't forget to unclip your fluid cap. Okay, so as you pull this panel away, let's take a wider view here. Couple things I want to point out. If you have a 2024 and you had a 2023, this is brand new. There's some additional cabling back here, so just want to point that out so that there are some differences in the way this panel is made. Also, as we pull this out, we can't get it all the way out unless we unplug our 12 volt, which we're going to use in just a second. Okay, with that disconnected, we're going to be able to remove the panel altogether. I'm going to set this aside. We'll take a nice picture of it in case you guys ever have questions. You want to look at this a little bit more. But this is what it looks like without that cable. Okay, now that we have the panel off, it is time to remove the cover. So we're just going to use our 7/16. Now the package did include replacement screws. Okay, so really simple. You take these two small screws out, use the same Allen key, you're able to remove this. Once you loosen it, it comes right out. So very simple, easy to do. Okay, we're back. We have the new Oracle light. We have their extended screws, and we still have the same Allen key. So we're gonna go ahead and mount this, and then we will come back and show you how to route the cabling. Okay, so you can see here, this is where the factory cover was, and you can see here the wire channel that the factory uses. And if you look really close, you can see there are little clips periodically. There's another one that you have to loosen in order, I'll show you from this side right here. So these are a couple of clips that you have to loosen. So I'm going to use trim pry piece here to open these two channels up, and then we'll go ahead and mount our new light and then start to run the cable through. Okay, let's do that. All right, to be honest, this is a little bit tough with one hand, so I'm going to put the camera down. I'll loosen this and show you how to do it. So I want to show you the first piece that's come out, and it is basically a top cover that snaps on in these little grooves. So you do have to kind of pry these little flaps back a little bit in order to get this free. And once you do, then you're able to expose the wire channel. So we're gonna go ahead and remove this next piece, and then we'll show you how to basically snake into this particular channel so that you can run the cabling concealed inside and then down through the system, down through the roof. So windshield wiper cover was here. We took the plastic channeling off on both of these, so you can now have this exposed. This is going to make this the next few steps a lot easier. What I'm going to do is take a razor blade. I'm going to just cut this. Let's see if this, no need for a razor blade. We'll unpeel this. Okay, now the beauty of this is it's that flexible shrink, and if you slide it down, it gets fatter. It makes it a lot easier for you to insert that cable in. So I usually push this down quite a bit, slide my new cable in, pull this back up, and we will basically tape this back down on both sides, and we'll be in good shape. Okay, so now we're at the point where we're going to want to fit this up here in the original spot. Then we're going to put the cabling cover back on, running the power cable for this device alongside. So I'm going to take those two screws, we're going to screw this in really quick, and then I'll show you how to run the cable. Okay, so slight issue. As we try to install this, these seem to be a little bit short. They're just simple machine screws. So I have a couple of these replacements. They will fit right into the channel. And I just tested them, and they do fit right in here too. And because you have lots of room, this screw can be a little bit longer than you need, without any fear of potentially breaking or damaging anything. You can see on both sides, it can be plenty long. So we're gonna go ahead and use these. These are basically leftover cabinet screws for cabinet knobs. So find something similar and that's a little bit longer and you can use that. All right, we're back. I started both screws. I left them in just a little bit loose to give us some play, but so definitely long enough. We're gonna go ahead and untangle this and start feeding it in through the channels. right, so here we go. We have the cable. We just started running it through. You can see what I did is I tucked it just a little bit behind the original factory cable. So everything seems to sit in here nicely. You're gonna make sure there's enough slack to make some of these turns, especially as we clip everything back in. This part was a little bit tricky, and I think you're gonna have a little time to work through this piece, but I'm gonna go ahead and tape this down and go ahead and start clipping everything back in. All right, so one quick pro tip. Want to give yourself a little bit of slack as you prepare to snap these pieces back on. So you want to make sure that this piece goes on first, the one closest to the ground, and then we'll move to the top of the window. Okay, once they're snapped in, you do have enough strength in that to be able to hold this up. So here we are. We're going to go ahead and screw this back in and then snap on the last piece, tape everything up, and then move forward. Okay, so we have our first cover on. This looks good. We're going to go ahead and we've already installed the screws here, but they're still a little bit loose. I want to make sure that they're even spacing, that this looks good. I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down. Then we'll move on to the very next step. Okay, so we have put our second piece back on. Just prior to doing that, we made sure that a little quick dry fit, and then went ahead and taped our end on this side. What we're gonna do is stretch this back out. I'm probably gonna tape it in here just before it goes into the channel, and I'll show you how to run it through. Okay, so we have taped this edge up, and what we're gonna do is run our cable through this little hole. We did pop this out, super easy. You just use your little pry tool. Not a big deal, just pops right out, really easy. But you got to get from here to here. So what I'm going to use is a snake tool to help me just kind of run that. So what I'm going to do is enter the snake tool here, fish it through until it comes out here, and then I'm going to tape my wire to the end of it, pull it through, and then we'll continue with it. All right, so super easy. I just used a flexible snake wire. Got it out here. So as I pull on one end, you can hear it come through. So super easy. I'm gonna go ahead and tape my cable to the end, pull it through, then we'll pop this back in, and we'll focus a little bit on how to do this next piece. All right, here we are. We have the wire from the device itself, and we cut off the outer sheath, and you can see the wires are fairly thin and overall very delicate. So you wanna be careful when you cut off the outer sheath so you don't accidentally cut the internal wires. And once you have this clean and ready, you're ready for some heat shrink. All right, so you can see that we have a quick disconnect here. I've already connected it, but haven't heat shrunk the connection to the device itself. But I like to do this so in case you want to take the panel off in the future, it's easy to do. You can see here, pointing out the 12 volt jumper that we're going to use. And I have already fused that to one side of the quick disconnect. Okay, here's the finished wiring harness. So you can see it here. What I did is I left the corrugated tubing on, the protective cover, and just wrapped it with the fabric tape. So it looks very factory. I also looped the excess cabling over itself and taped that together. My plan is to put this back up in here and hopefully there's a little bit of a lip here to help give it a little bit of support so that it will stay stationary, but the clip will be easily accessible in the event we ever needed to quickly disconnect this. All right, so here we are. This is the final wire harness. It looks great. We're gonna plug this in to the existing outlet just to make sure that everything works, right? Before we start putting any paneling back on. And as long as everything works and fires up, then what we'll do is we'll disconnect this. This is a nice quick disconnect. It allows us to, in the event we had to quick disconnect any of these other devices, but don't want to have to take the paneling off to quickly disconnect this, we have a quick disconnect, and that's why this is here. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and connect this into the system. We'll charge the system, so we'll double check everything now. Okay, so we do have lights here. Fantastic. All right. Looks like everything works, and this is set up right now for straight to battery. So don't need the car on, don't need any keys. If you're out here in the car and it's dark, you're able to just quickly turn on a light and give yourself a light on this side and this side. With everything wired, we're going to go ahead and push this cabling back up in from the device so it sits in there nicely. You can see there's going to be a quick disconnect that will connect in a second. We're going to bring the panel in to view, and we're going to hook up the 12-volt power source back to the device, and then we'll start to position the panel itself so that we can reinstall it. Okay, so we're just going to slowly fish our wire harnesses through the body panel. You want to make sure you pull these through before you start to position the panel itself for reinstallation. It does take a little bit of time. There are a lot of clips, so you want to just be careful as you do this, and you want to make sure you have your wiring harnesses in the body panel already so that they don't accidentally get snagged behind the panel as you try to reinstall this particular body panel. Keep in mind these are difficult to get back in, so just take your time. This took me several minutes. We're certainly watching this in fast forward, but don't want to shorten this clip too much. All right, so it looks like I got the body panel pretty much all the way in. Always a little bit tricky around the seatbelt area. All right, so you can see we got the panel back on. You do want to keep an eye on the wiring just to make sure that everything comes through nicely and you have enough slack. We're going to start to reconnect the wiring harnesses, the fuel line, the fluid line there. And don't forget to put your covers back on. With the extra wiring harness that we created, this is a little bit tougher, so you have to kind of play with the wires to get everything back in, but you will be able to get all three wire and tubing through this device. Make sure that you put this in feet first. All the cables come out. Everything's sitting in here nice and clean. Everything looks great. This basically looks untouched. Okay, here's one final look. Looks great. Install looks great. We're going to go over each component. All right. Looks great. This is where our cable actually goes into the channel. It goes through right in here. And everything looks amazing. All right, so we're wrapping things up here. Think the install went very smooth. Took all in all about an hour. Fairly easy on the install. You don't have to be very mechanical or have a lot of electrical know-how, especially when you're using bypass products like the 12-volt bypass device that we use today. You just have to be able to connect a couple wires, plug everything in, and make sure those things run smoothly for you. So today we're going to wrap up the video. Think this was a very successful install, keeping your Jeep look OEM on everything Jeeping. Hope you loved this video. Remember to hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you at the next one.